We're ready. Phones off. Everyone's no longer talking because the show is on. All right, everybody. That's the door slams. All right. This is Chris Falcon here, and you guys are listening again to the Rebel Mindset. It is a beautiful day in Chicago, and even more beautiful because I've got a wonderful man with me here, someone that's already graced the pod, James Levin, also known as Jimmy, sales expert, networking expert, and what else are you an expert in these days?
Man, my expertise, constantly learning how to be an expert at something else, which is like being a good dad, being a good husband. That's different than, being a good dad and being a good husband kind of blend together, but they're very different pre-child and post-child. My daughter's 3 now, but I'm still learning. So I'm becoming an expert, trying to become an expert in being the best dad I can, and being the best husband, and also having a full-time job. Which is
going to be
hard.
That's a full-time job in itself. Is just trying to figure that out.
Well, you have 2, 1 in the oven, and you have 14 jobs. You're an expert at all of them.
Well,
so I'll be coming to you as a mentor.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I'll tell you that the whole world of the husbanding and the parenting and all that is insane, and I'm constantly feeling like I'm like I'm underwater,
dude. I'm
struggling
so many
for
people
air.
I talk to. I like to talk to people about like what are their fears.
Yeah.
I think there's always something to unpack there.
Yeah.
And no one ever says I'm so scared to have a child. Like they're always super excited.
Right.
I haven't really talked to many people say I'm scared to get married. Like they're engaged, they're psyched, they're ready, they're planning. But they do not know what the actual day-to-day is like and how challenging it can be.
Totally.
Luckily, you and I both have like very supportive spouses.
Yes.
And amazing children.
Yes.
But if I knew like then what I know now, I would have been terrified to get married. And terrified to have a child. I was excited.
Terrifying, though. It really is terrifying in its own way. And I know people, like you're saying, they don't really attach themselves to that. It's that excitement.
It is, yeah.
But it can be terrifying. I mean, the other day, I'm sitting there, and again, it's one of those things. Like I told you before, like yes, my wife is we're expecting. She's pregnant, and
I didn't know if I was supposed to leak.
No. You can leak it. The people know. And so we're expecting, and every time I see her, like I told you, I'm like, oh my God, what happened to you? Like it's a shock because I almost forgot she was pregnant. And at the same time, like every time I see my 8-year-old Christopher, I kind of forget how big he is, And so I'll be like in my office, and like this dude walks in the room, and I'm like, who the hell are you? You
have a tenant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's this tenant, this guy, but he doesn't pay rent.
No.
He eats all the food.
Yeah, but I hear he's a good cook.
You know what? He is a good cook. And that was another thing that was really weird, was that the other day I'm sitting there in my office, I'm doing my thing, and this dude, so I hear like the click. Yeah, I hear the click at the stove.
Okay.
And so it's like tick, tick, tick. I'm like, what is going on? So I come out of the room. He's just standing there in front of the stove. And I'm like, dude.
You're going to burn the house down.
What are you doing? And he turns to me, he goes, I'm making a grilled cheese, man. You want one?
They're delicious.
They're delicious, yeah. And I'm like, no, but when did this happen? Oh, Mama taught me.
Oh,
So I mean, it is kind of terrifying because it's incredible how fast they grow, incredible how fast they learn.
It's crazy. Every day is like something new, and I love the new stuff that happens every day. But it kind of sets you back. You're like, how do I influence this in the right way? Because my daughter's learning no matter what, whether I'm there or not there, she's learning. And so how do I make sure that I influence the right kind of learning? And I know it's early. She's almost 3. So like I'm trying to be ahead of the curve. So hopefully I'm doing the right thing. But How do you do it?
Man, I mean,
like how do you influence your kids to make the right decision?
Right. I mean, I think that I try to do my best to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
I pay attention to the kids. I pay attention to what they do and what they don't do. If we go someplace, I'll make sure I say, hey, did you say hello?
Mm-hmm.
Did you take your shoes off? Make sure you listen, respect. Like, so
manners, etiquette.
Yeah, manners, but like that sensitivity to it, So maybe somebody might not be into manners and etiquette. Maybe they'd be into something else. But the point is, are you paying attention to this kid?
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel that their behaviors are relevant and important enough for your energy and your time? I think that my kids are, because again, like I tell my wife all the time, we are raising young men. We're in the process of raising young men. And so
Absolutely.
therefore we always have to take into consideration that end product, the end result.
So do you have a mentor for that? Because I know, some people have big families, some people have small families. I have a pretty small family,
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a mentor for that? Do you look to a father figure, someone that you look up to,
Man,
somebody like that? Or is
I
it kind
think-
of like you trust your own instincts?
Yeah, dude. I mean, look, I mean, we're blessed in that none of us lives like just in an isolated box.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people all around us and we're social by nature. So I think that there's something to be learned from every family, and so I'm constantly looking, and I'm fortunate enough. I mean, I deal with people in every aspect of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can learn from and again, the same way I listen to my kids, I'm listening to people all the time,
Yeah.
taking into consideration what I like about how they operate, what I don't like, filtering, and I can learn even from, you know what? I do not like how you handled that situation with your daughter and that miniskirt.
You have a daughter coming. I have a daughter.
Dude, how are we going to handle the miniskirts?
I'm going to let mom take care of that.
Are you?
Yes. I will stand strongly behind mom, but she is the real, she's the true north when it comes to how to dress.
Okay.
Clearly, I'm not that.
Okay.
But she is the true north in our house.
All right.
Of those kind of rules. And I will support all of it, but if it were up to me, she'd wear a suit.
3-piece suit.
Yeah. I don't want to wear a suit. Right. I'm not wearing any suits. I hate wearing suits. But
But your daughter would wear a suit.
She'll wear a suit. Yeah.
She's cute.
Thanks.
So I understand the concern.
Her. Yeah, she's the best. But yeah, I mean, that stuff is scary. Now, so like we're flipping the table here. I'm interviewing you now.
That's okay. You're like a co-host.
That's kind of great.
Right?
I like it. I'm happy to be back. It's awesome. I
always
had a
want
really
you
fun time the first time. So I was really happy to hear.
I'm thinking about just having it be like me and you doing the rebel mindset, and then someone else just comes in and we can make them feel uncomfortable.
I would love it. Hopefully the listeners are giving you that feedback. We're having a good time. I hope people that are listening are having as good of a time.
We're not getting as many 5-star likes as I like. Give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, and we're also on Spotify now.
How are the reviews?
You know what? The reviews that we have are all 5-star, but I want more.
So they are 5-star.
They are 5-star, but I want more of them.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Podcasting is kind of an interesting phenomenon. I was thinking about it after I was invited to do this the first time, which you got some really cool press in Winnetka, in Glenview, about some of the things that you're doing specifically here in the Media Pods, which, number one, I'd like to see podcasts from entrepreneurs in this neighborhood, in this town, that they come in and just kind of talk about their experiences, and I'd like to see business owners talk about, what type of value they create for families in these neighborhoods. And I'd like to hear from the community as well, right?
Absolutely.
So we should, you or I, or we should both start to invite people like that. You've got a great list of upcoming guests, so I'm excited to listen to those.
Yeah. No, our guests are awesome.
There's a couple of, I won't drop any names, but there's if you go to the website.
Yes, go to the Rebel Mindset. Man, you are setting me up.
Thanks. I'll tee it up. You just
go to the rebelmindset.com and you can check out all the guests that are going to be here with me in the pod. But to your point, I mean, recording here out of Media Pods, go to mediapods.com. This is an awesome place for, like you say, small business owners, anybody to get in here and really just tell your story. What is the story behind the storefront?
The audio is great.
Yeah.
Like it's high quality. So you're not listening to, somebody on their iPhone recording something, which I've heard.
Right.
There's some apps out there that allow you to kind of like create an at-home podcast. I don't think it has the production value that is really needed to generate a real listenership. I'm not going to listen to anything that's, I'm all about the content and the discussion, but also it needs to sound like clean and crisp, which I think you've accomplished really well.
Well, and it's just not the same experience. And building off of that word, we talked about really what it is to create a certain experience at home, being a parent and being a husband. Really, that's what you're doing. You're creating an environment and an experience dynamic for your family.
Totally.
And so much of that is happening today, I think, in the world of business, marketing, and really sales. I think that the sale that is being made these days is happening way before a person actually gets in front of another person.
I agree.
Just based on selling the feel, the experience that somebody's going to have with whatever that might be.
Yeah, branding is not new, right? But it's taking on a whole new form.
Right.
So I'm doing some work in the influencer space, which are content creators, right? And it's in these, and I'll just kind of define a content creator, someone who broadcasts on social channels like YouTube,
Okay.
Instagram, Facebook. I'm doing some work with a company called GameWisp. Really cool technology, but what they're the market that they're in is in the electronic gaming space. So esports. Are you familiar with esports?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's nuts. I mean,
I still don't fully understand like
There's-
how it's
evolving.
grown to what it is, but it's amazing.
So it's exploding, and it evolves pretty much on a weekly basis. What most people view it as it's a team sport. Okay, that's esports. So we'll go back to like content creation in a second, but team sports who literally sit, and I went to a conference in Boston about 3 or maybe 4 months ago called PAX East, and PAX West is coming up too. I'll be going to that in Seattle. But what you see are 5 gamers at terminals across 5 other gamers at terminals. A lot of them they'll either play, with a handset or they actually play with a keyboard. I didn't realize that that's a thing, but like the really experienced, like intricate games require more processing and different hardware. So I'm learning all this. I really don't play video games.
Right.
Like Wii is the last time I like logged into or turned on a console.
And that might as well have been 100 years ago.
Seriously, yeah. I think I did try Oculus, which was cool. Like
I don't even know what that is.
It's the VR from Facebook. Virtual reality, which is crazy. There's a PlayStation version for it. I don't recall what the name is, but you put on these headsets and they cover your eyes, and they're fully immersive. So you have speakers in your ears. You have a completely black glasses over your face, and you look around the room, and as you look around, you are looking into another world. So I played a video game that was like a race car game, and you put on the headset, you sit down, you hear the engine revving, you look to your right, and you're looking out like a window, and you put your finger down, and you move your finger, and the window goes down.
Come on.
And you put your hand up like you're driving, and the steering wheel turns, and I played it for about 10 minutes, and I got car sick.
Okay, dude.
I legit got car sick.
I know
it tricked
you.
my entire
Is it
equilibrium.
really like you're there?
Without your body actually moving and feeling the G-forces, which there are some like companies building those like machine-based or like mechanically based, seats that move and vibrate and simulate the car itself. It tricked my brain. It literally tricked me into feeling car sick. I was driving, and it was kind of hard to control because you're actually using your hands to control it, which you're not holding anything, but it responds. And you start to kind of fishtail down the lane, and next thing you know, you're doing a 360, and you feel sick. Like there's no lag. It's real. So I think it's interesting to experiment with or talk about, is it real? If I got sick, is that real?
Right.
Is it virtual reality or is it reality?
Right.
And so I started listening to some podcasts and, watching some Facebook article or, feeds on these subjects. And it's just fascinating to me because if it actually happens to you, that means it's real. It's not fantasy anymore. So I think, it's just an amazing. So going back to the company I'm working with, they are tracking these people that are broadcasting themselves on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. There's a site called Twitch, which is huge. It's owned by Amazon, and it's like the YouTube for video games.
Okay.
So if we had a console here, we could broadcast ourselves talking, hanging out like we do, playing a video game, and there are people that want to watch us do that. It's entertaining to them. And there's probably, I think they say that there's 2 million content creators on Twitch alone. So those are 2 million people that play games and broadcast themselves and interact with their fans.
God, I mean, the vast majority, at least to me, not knowing much about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, so much of this does not require much human connectivity. I mean, you're talking about people in, what do you call them, terminals or cubicles or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, just at a desk,
They're at a desk. Okay, you're a professional because what you're doing is highly skilled.
Yep.
You're in a team.
Many of them are getting paid.
Right, they're getting paid. You're in a team, but you're not really interacting with your team members using words next to them. You're competing against another team, but again, you're not interacting and sending taunts to them or doing anything with words. And
you're not even touching the same equipment.
Yeah.
There's
in
no
baseball,
you're sharing the ball, and the
nothing.
Football, there's some communication with headsets, and they do talk to each other to help strategize.
Right.
So Fortnite's a great example of a team sport game where people kind of you have 4 or 5 people. Fortnite is sweeping the world right now.
My
Like, I'd
kids,
say
that's
nation, but
that's
it's
all they
actually
talk
bigger.
about.
Okay, so
and they call it fart night. Just
well, yes, Fortnite, of course. Why wouldn't they?
because they're 5 and 8.
But
so.
I mean, everybody's playing it. And there's a. It was interesting. Don't quote me on these stats, but there's a guy who his name is Ninja. He's like the leading Fortnite player in the world on Twitch. He's got like millions of followers. But he and the rapper Drake.
That's the guy that's here locally, right?
Is he?
I think he is
Ninja?
I think he's out of I mean,
I should know, but I
where's
have no
College
idea.
Lake County? That's like
that's up north.
Up north. I think that's like around
Gurnee
where he lives, like
or,
Gurnee-ish.
Okay, I had no idea. That's
Okay.
great to know. I'll look him up.
Yeah,
Maybe he'll do some sponsorship for us.
please.
We should have him stream from here if he'd be interested, but he's probably got contracts and
If he's hanging out with Drake,
yeah.
I don't know if we'll be able to pull him onto the Rebel quite
we'll
yet.
see if we can squeeze him in.
All right, we'll get it.
But the whole point of that rant is, or that whatever that area of discussion is, that he generated 600,000 simultaneous views to watch somebody play a video game. And so this whole new area of content creation, which we're doing right now, we're creating content, it's really a phenomenon that's happening where it's more available than it's ever been. Internet speeds allow for the consumption of this content like it's never been before.
Right.
And so I think you're gonna start to see a lot more. I think that's what I was trying to get at, is what is the phenomenon with podcasts? Like, why they came out so long ago? Like, podcasts have been available forever.
Right.
So like 5, 6, 7 years feels like forever in the internet, but why now? Why are people so into it now? What is it?
I mean, I think that this whole world, and again, just going back to content creation, I mean, people are making a lot of money off of this.
Sure.
Okay. There's money to be, and way more money to be made, So what I'm wondering, and again, just taking getting your thoughts on this, because you are a sales expert.
Thank you.
I mean, how is this world of marketing, content creation, all these other touches that you can get to the consumer, how is this going to change or augment like the traditional sale that somebody might need to close? Because guess what? I can sell a crap load of stuff to you without ever putting a person in front of you, without ever having to go door to door knocking on anything, without you having to sit down at a desk. In fact, we just talked about it. Yeah. I'm lying down in my bed scrolling through Instagram.
Yep.
And I go ahead and I purchase a pair of $50 flip-flops.
I mean,
boom,
it's the very high end of an impulse buy, by the way. Like,
well,
$50 is
it's insane.
That's pretty high for an impulse.
So I might have been under the influence of something.
Maybe lack of sleep.
Perhaps.
That's all that could be.
But point being is that, is this world shifting? And how, as a small business owner, do we need to change how it is that we are looking at our business and its place in order to stay ahead of the game? Because things are moving, and they're moving fast.
They are. It's no longer TV and radio.
Right.
TV and radio are, when I think about radio, I think about just like on the station, like, the actual like FM, AM.
Right.
Do people even listen to those things anymore?
I haven't listened to the radio in years.
Is that because there are alternatives with no commercials, or because, let me ask you this question, or is it because companies that have, like satellite radio, curate the music for you, curate the genre? Like, you kind of get to narrow in on your interests more than you could with a traditional radio station. The same is true with TV versus like Netflix, for example. Right. So, I
mean, for me, part of the reason why I remember I used to listen to the radio, one, was because that was, first and foremost, we both love music. I love music.
Yeah.
And music allows me to feel something.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'd have to listen to the radio to get that feeling. That was a place where I could get that, but it was also a place where I could get information. Well, guess what? I can get my information a lot faster from other places, and I can get that curated feeling of my music a lot faster from other places. So I don't need to sit there and listen to the radio for that feeling and to get information. So it's totally different for me. My information comes quickly on my phone, and I can create the exact feeling that I want to have, and or a company is going to create it by just logging into Spotify or whatever it is.
Interesting
and
segue.
I feel incredible.
So how do businesses do that, right? So I think the reason you have me here today is to talk a little bit about how a salesperson can curate, an experience for somebody. And we were talking offline about Chris's experience in the entertainment industry, like nightclub stuff. Chris really spent a long time in his formative youth in his early
It was
20s
another life.
manning pretty hot nightclubs, and the lines are out the door.
Crazy.
And people are trying to get their way in with cash bribes. There's
Everything.
back doors, there's friends of friends, there's drink tickets, there's all these things that these clubs would offer
Totally.
or use as kind of like the carrot at the end of the stick to get people to wait in line. And the term that I learned probably from you was holding a line.
Yeah.
So the appearance, the club would create an appearance of demand by, regardless of how many people were inside, by presenting a line outside.
There could be 4 people inside picking their nose and sipping a
and they're going to
Heineken,
hold a line,
and they're
right?
going to hold a line.
So that strategy was like, that's the traffic that goes by. So how do you create that demand now for products that are not physical, right? So like this product that we're creating right now, this is a piece of content that we hope people will enjoy. It's free. There's hopefully something to be learned. If nothing else, it's entertainment value. But how do we hold a line? Like, how do we create a demand for more content? I think that's something to explore in this content creation world, not just podcasts, but video games, creators that, I've seen a lot of really interesting content around makeup, right? Like makeup. You could think of a million different examples. And like, as you scroll through Instagram, you're going to see people with a lot of following that are just doing average tasks, just average everyday tasks. But what makes that piece of content attractive? And is it the quality of the content? Is it I think what you look at first is how many people are following it. That's us
huge.
Walking by.
Right.
So that's us walking by. Yeah, that's the line.
But how do you get to that point? And I'm hoping that you have an answer. At least you can give me something. No, damn you better have an answer.
I think where you're gonna succeed and continue to succeed is in your ability to attract really entertaining and insightful people.
Right.
That share real experiences that other people can connect to.
Right.
And eventually you will have that line out the door. I know you're doing well, but like, I know your goals also.
Right.
And I know your aspirations. And you are unabashed about that. It's not something that you secretly talk about. I mean, you want big things and you want to affect a lot of people.
Right.
So, the question is, how do you, as a beginner in this world of podcasting, or how does, Joe the florist create a line? Like, how do you hold that line? And I think it has to be the old-fashioned way at first, which is generating real value, like creating something of real value.
Okay, so that's where it starts.
Yeah, I think so.
So we can't get away from like the old school, like, look, man, let's just get right back to the basics here. You need to go ahead and create value in whatever it is, your value proposition.
Yeah.
You can't skip that part.
I think a lot of people, so you
can't. Or can you?
No, I don't think you can.
Okay.
Because there's too many options. There's too many options. I can go to Joe in the brick and mortar store, for flowers, or I can get them online.
Right.
And so if I walk in there and I get a great experience and Joe knows my name and he knows what my wife likes, what kind of flowers, or, remembers or has some way of, recalling events in my life to talk about, like, remember when we did your wedding and it was raining that day.
Right.
Whatever. Those are the things that I think will keep companies or little businesses in business in this world of like everything's being done by Amazon.
Right. But you just said that word again, experience. I mean, in that value proposition, is the experience that you're providing for your customer, more important now than ever before?
Yes.
Based on how saturated this stuff is? Because, seriously, people, I can get whatever I want whenever I want.
You don't have to leave
effortlessly.
This room.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
So why do I need to come to you? What is the reason why? And certainly if you have a brick and mortar.
Yeah. That's a scary thing.
Frightening.
Yeah, if you're a brick and mortar, you're probably nervous.
I want to talk to the brick and mortar people out there right now. Because, I'm sure there are going to be some people listening to this.
Let's take some calls.
Right. I know. I wish we could take calls. Right. Like, I'm sure there are going to be some brick and mortar people out there. Like, really? Because these people, they need our attention. Like, what do brick and mortar people need to do to stay relevant and basically defend themselves from being consumed by the ravenous beast that is Amazon and online?
Yeah.
sales?
I don't have that answer, but I do know that it will. If I were, let's say, a florist, for example, like we're using that, I would do everything I could to make sure that I had leveraged media. Okay, so media like a podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and being really consistent and serious about it. Not serious like, hey, this is, I mean serious like committed to it.
Right.
I think if you ignore those things, you're going to be in a lot of trouble if you aren't already. So if you ignore the media avenue for advertising your business, creating some experience, and experience could be, pictures from someone's wedding, like that convey some type of sentiment about that event that you might want to convey at your own wedding or birthday party or anniversary or whatever it may be. So I think that the brick and mortars have got to really engage with social media.
They got to step up.
It doesn't feel like they have. And of course, that's a broad sweeping generalization, but when I'm online and I'm looking at Instagram and Facebook, which I do often, and LinkedIn for that matter, I don't see a lot of small businesses doing a lot of stuff. I see them trying to defend their reviews on Yelp, but I don't see them being very proactive. And I know it's not easy, and I know it's a skill, but it really requires a lot of attention.
Is it because a lot of these small business owners out there right now, a lot of these brick and mortar owners might be from a different generation still,
yes,
and they just don't get it?
Yeah, that is probably a lot of it.
So what's one thing that person can do? I mean, like right now, I am 60 years old.
Yep.
I'm a florist. I've had my shop for the past 35 years. I've been, a pillar in the community, but my sales are down 40% because flowers.com is killing me.
Yeah.
And I have no web presence. I'm not on Instagram because, what am I going to do on Instagram? That's for young people.
Yeah, so you hire a young person to do it.
You're damn right.
You hire somebody who is of this generation, this up and coming millennial generation, to help you do it.
Right.
And that's going to cost you money.
Right.
But it's an investment, right? I mean, everybody understands how that works. You have to spend money to make money. But I think ignoring it is the real problem. Investing money behind it will help. Now, do I think that you can compete dollar for dollar realistically against a company like Amazon? No, it will not be possible. But where you can compete is in that personalized experience when that person does decide that I'm going to give my business to the brick and mortar, support my local neighborhood, support my local vendors, and go to Joe's Flower Shop because I saw an image that touched me or made me feel like this was relevant.
Right. I mean, I feel like, and I love that you just said that because I truly feel like it's kind of a missed opportunity and that bridge has not really been formed yet between like local business and online marketing.
Yeah.
Like it's not there yet. Like, and I love the idea. I'm a small business owner.
Yeah.
I want to be able to spend my money locally with these small businesses. But again, if you're not communicating with people in the way at which they take in their information, if you're not being seen and putting yourself out there, guess what? You're invisible.
Totally. But here's an advantage that I think brick and mortars do have, which is a saying, I think it's a hospitality saying. It's people come for the food and return for the hospitality, right? So they come because they heard about the food or they saw a picture of the food or they read a review, they went on Yelp. Repeat business is the, I guess, bread and butter, pardon the pun, but the bread and butter, repeat business is the bread and butter for brick and mortars.
Right.
It's not new business. There's only so much new business. It's repeat business that sustains and can help a mom and pop shop thrive and continue to like build value in the community, which I like to spend all of my money that I can with mom and pops because I think it's important to help maintain that kind of piece of the fabric of our society is like that it's still the American dream does exist, which it's eroding, quite honestly. I think it is. So that's just a personal preference of mine. I'm a little critical. I've never been a server. Okay, so let me kind of start there. I've never been a server. I've had every job in the world except working in a restaurant because
poor soul.
Those poor souls that I would have served. That's what I was self-aware enough to know that I would not have been a good server.
It is tough ass work.
No kidding. It is tough work. But what I will tell you as a sales expert, someone who has experience in sales, every single time I sit down in a restaurant, I live in the West Loop, by the way, and the West Loop happens to have Randolph Street and Fulton Market, which are
Mecca.
considered food meccas.
Mecca.
Randolph Row, okay? Some of the best restaurants in the country are in my neighborhood. I'm very
really,
lucky.
If you guys haven't been, go to his neighborhood.
It's
Maybe
cool.
you'll see James hanging out at one of these places.
Secretly, we're trying to get out of there, but
okay. Well, it's unreal what is happening over there in Randolph Row.
it's crazy. The transformation over the last 8 years has been, I don't have a word for it, but it's a completely different neighborhood in all the most positive ways that I could think of. There are friendly people, friendly restaurateurs. There are tourists coming in, young faces, familiar faces. There are parks, there's places for kids, there's a great school. I mean, it's a wonderful neighborhood, but the commercial side of the neighborhood is changing. And I'm not super thrilled about it because, and I know a lot of people that live in my neighborhood are not thrilled either, because what
Really?
you're seeing are established restaurants that have been there for 20, 30 years. They cannot afford the rent. So these brick and mortars, gone. Literally, I can think of 5 or 6 restaurants that have just announced closings that are already closed within the last 30 days that were not chains. And I always went to those restaurants. I mean, there was a Mexican restaurant that I love. There's an Indian restaurant that just closed.
Wow.
The rent is too high because, you know, there's so many factors to that. I'm not going to go down that road, but it's sad to see all of these, you know, original kind of great restaurants leaving and chains coming in.
Well, that's fascinating because it's one of those things where you get what you wish for. I mean, to a certain degree, while the growth of that microeconomy was happening, people were like, "Wow, this is amazing."
Yeah.
And then there comes this point where you're like, "Wait a minute, this destination has become so powerful." You know what I mean?
Yeah, that it's
That
commanding.
now, I can't even afford to be here anymore.
Yeah, Soho House moved in.
Yeah.
The Nobu Hotel is moving in. McDonald's moved their headquarters there from Oak Brook. That was a pivotal moment for the West Loop and for Chicago in general. It was an amazing thing
If
that
you
happened.
ever sell, you better never sell your place.
We love living in the neighborhood. It's just, you know, we need some grass. Like, we need to literally, like, we need to spread out a little bit. We need our daughter to feel like, what does it look like? What does
You mean
grass
that
look like?
2 by 4 foot patch right in front isn't enough?
No, it's covered in dog shit,
Yes,
if you will.
Yes.
But
yes,
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
I think I stepped in some the other day.
Yeah,
when I
it's,
came
you know,
over.
that's also the other side of living in the city. But, you know, what I was getting at in you know, kind of this long, like, description of what's happening in this neighborhood is something that's, I think, lacking that we're talking about around these brick and mortars is the hospitality professional, whether it's a server, a GM of a restaurant, nightclub owner, guy at the front door. I think the hospitality industry, from my experience, doesn't do a very good job of selling.
Okay.
They do a great job of pricing things, you know, according to their neighborhood and according to their distributors, and they make good margins, right? Like some of these businesses do, right? So they're like restaurant groups that can have a portfolio of restaurants rather than just one brick and mortar, so they can kind of diversify and be safe. But inevitably, I am let down by service. And I don't have a super high benchmark for service because, and this is something that my wife and I talk about all the time because she thinks I'm a little bit stringent about it, but like, I'm going to these really nice, well, let's just call them popular restaurants.
Okay.
That tourists come to.
Okay.
And I go all the time. We live down the street. I bring my daughter there. My wife and I sit there. We have a drink. My daughter has an early dinner. We have a routine. They don't know our name. And we're there 3 times a week.
But isn't that representational of kind of what we're doing in the world, which is just, okay, we have all these tools that bring us closer together, yet we couldn't be further apart? I mean, isn't that what it is?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think it's a lack of so maybe people don't understand how much of a service professional you can be if you try.
Right.
And if you want to be a server forever, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. You could be the best server in the world, make a very good, respectable living.
Certainly.
If you remember people's names, you know what they like to order, you offer them alternatives to what they've ordered, you describe the food in a certain way, and you start to sell.
So is this coming from the bottom or coming from the top? I mean, is this the people and this is just what we have, or are they simply not being taught to do this? Because I feel like, you know, you talk about, what was it, Cheers? Or what is it, the place where everybody knows your
Cheers.
name? Like, you know, these are places, you know, certainly in a neighborhood like yours. I mean, you romanticize that. You've got this amazing condo. You're living in this bustling, awesome, thriving neighborhood. You're going to go down the street. The bartender's going to know your name.
Yeah.
Like, that's what everyone expects to experience. And I think to a certain degree, we still kind of have here in the suburbs, we can go places where people know you and you can sit down at the bar. But maybe in these incredible, I mean, this is a different animal where you live.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I think maybe it's the tourism, but I mean, this has been a topic of conversation almost every week with my wife. It's like, I always tip 20% no matter what, like service, good or bad. I always give 20%.
You're a good man.
Well, it's mostly my wife, but like, cause I don't want to have a discussion about it. I'm not, I don't consider myself cheap, but I do like to exchange money for value.
Right.
And the food alone is not the value to me.
Right.
It's the experience. Like I said before, I come for the food and I return for that hospitality or that experience.
So
there are restaurants that suck that I love to go to because they remember us and they treat us right and they smile. Like little things like that. Those are the things that I think we're losing. Right?
So
and
when you talk about sales, because you said that, okay, like, they're doing a good job delivering the food.
Yeah.
And the food tastes great.
Yeah.
But you're saying the sales, they're just not doing a great job. What do they need to do to improve right now? I mean, you've got a group of 20, servers in front of you. What's the first thing you're going to tell these people?
Take yourself seriously. Treat yourself as a professional. Like, understand that sometimes a service job may feel like a stopgap for what somebody actually wants to do. Maybe they're really aspire to be something else. Or they want to be, they want to rise through the ranks of a restaurant and run a really great restaurant. Like whatever your end goal is, take it seriously. Because the person that's exchanging their time and money, they're taking it seriously. I know it's just a meal or whatever, but you want to have a good experience. You want to have fun. You want to remember it. You want to come back. And it's disappointing I get disappointed when I leave a restaurant and I feel like I don't want to go back.
No.
I don't like that feeling. It's like, even if the meal was satisfying, but I don't want to come back, I feel disappointed because I want to find those spots that
you want to frequent.
Yeah. Like I don't need to try every restaurant in the world. I want to have the top 5 or 6 that we like to go to that people are friendly. And so if I sat in front of a group of, restaurant professionals, I'd have no credibility other than a customer. Okay. So that's a problem, right? I've never served. I've never done anything in a restaurant. Okay, that was by choice. Like I could not. I think service is extremely difficult. Like you deal with fussy people, you deal with allergies, you deal with people's. I mean, you deal with all people's
horror
baggage.
Stories. As you know, I did years of serving tables.
You did. I mean, for the majority of your 20s, you were
It was brutal.
You were working really hard, right?
Yeah.
Like your early 20s, right?
Yeah, in late teens, it was brutal.
Yeah, late teens, and that's hard. So I don't take it for granted how hard the work is. I really think it is. I want to acknowledge that, but I also think if I'm sitting in front of a group of people, I want them to understand that you have an opportunity to change a restaurant's perception with a lot of people, right? So like, just because you sit down, like you may not have the best experience with one customer. That tends to bleed into the next customer. It tends to affect your entire night, your overall ability to earn tips, and then ultimately the success of that restaurant. So I do think it's a top-down issue.
Dude.
I think if these restaurant owners and managers, any brick and mortar, really understands how the customer dictates how their business runs, not anything else, not their pricing, not the way the food tastes even. I really don't believe that. I think it is the experience, like you've been talking about, that the end customer gets. They may not be the prettiest flowers in the world.
Right.
It may not be the best arrangement.
Totally.
But Joe remembers my name. And he knows the flowers I like.
I was I had my staff come together for a meeting, and I'm known for sitting down in these meetings and just going on all types of rants and getting really philosophical and passionate, as you know. Yeah, I know, right? Shocking. But this time I didn't want to go there. Mm-hmm. And I told them, look, I have one question for you guys. What is your vision for yourself in this industry, and how does my company fit into that? That's it.
That's a great question.
And I think that when you start talking about, okay, if you had 20 servers in front of you, the first thing you'd say to them is, you got to take yourself seriously.
Yes.
Do you think that like you kind of can't take yourself seriously in the position that you have right now until you've taken enough time to even start to question what this vision
Yeah,
is for yourself. I mean, if you don't even know what it is that you're building,
or why you're doing it,
then why give it?
Why are you doing that?
Why cares?
But
why care? Who cares?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question to ask your staff. And I think it's a question that you should debate with your staff. And I think what you're going to end up having are people who feel ownership in what you're doing. And that's the ultimate thing that what you put really well was like, how do you get them to feel that sense of ownership? So my answer to that question was take yourself seriously.
Yeah.
But I think a better way of approaching that is probably what you just said, which is like, how do you fit into the mix? Like, the owner of the business should engage with that employee in that philosophical way. Otherwise, it's like, I'm going to punch in, I'm going to punch out, and then I'm going to have my life outside of it.
You know what? My grandmother, who
yeah,
I have so much respect for my grandmother. I'm not going to say that she's worked harder. That doesn't mean I'm not comparing her to anybody, but this woman has worked very hard her entire life. And she worked in a paper factory for like 15 years. Paper factories are brutal. All right. Hard work. And I remember when she would, tell me stories about her work, she took pride and wanted to work and be an integral role in building this company into something special. And I feel like to a certain degree, like, I think maybe people took a little bit more pride in that maybe in years past, because maybe your job was such played just a really large part of your identity of who you were.
Yeah.
Now you have people who maybe they're working retail, which is fine. Or maybe they're a server, which is great.
Yeah.
But their identity, that's not a large part of their identity. Because guess what? I created one on Instagram. And even though I'm a server or I work retail and I make $12 an hour, I've got 3,000 followers on Instagram. So I'm special. I'm something else. I feel like now when I'm trying to relate to people and say, guess what? I understand that you think you worked hard today, but I don't think the work that you do while you simply just kind of punched in is necessarily the hard work component.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Certainly we know this as a business owner, it's not. But even if I was an employee, it's going to be all those things I do even when I clock out. Because guess what? When I go to Trader Joe's or wherever, you're still on the clock.
Yeah.
When I go to church or synagogue or to the bus station or whatever, I still need to represent my company. I'm still working for that paper company. I'm still working for that gym. I'm still working for that florist because I want to build a strong company because I take pride in that.
So has that been stripped from people?
Damn it, I don't know. But I don't know because guess what? I don't know. I mean, like
do they not believe that what they do matters?
I don't know if they don't believe it matters, but I know that they believe that other things matter and maybe even matter more. Okay, if I don't have X amount of likes based on what I posted, or if I'm not getting followed by this many people, I'm not relevant, or I'm not special,
or not important,
or I'm not important. Yeah. And the flip side, hey, if I've got 2,000 or 3,000 followers and 150 people liked my post, I'm special. Oh, it doesn't matter that I was late for work or my job, I'm not performing well and I suck. I'm still relevant. I still feel special. I have my moment in the sun.
Yeah. So I think, it's interesting to talk about that. What's the value of a like? What is the value of a follower?
Well, I know that certainly has value to some people. And I tell this to all people, to people all the time. It's like somebody's making a lot of money off the time you're spending on social media. It's just not you.
Yeah, advertisers. Yeah, it's not you. Yeah. Unless you're unless you're Ninja who's making, $50,000 an hour streaming, which there's one person doing that type. I mean, there's a little bit more, but I get what you're saying. It's like, but what is the value of that? Is that just immediate gratification? Yes, probably. Right? Like I got a number of likes, my dopamine shoots through the roof, and then I'm back to like my real life of shit. I don't really want to be the server. So it goes back to like the first time you and I talked, on air was around finding your passion. Like don't sell yourself short. That's what I also mean by take yourself seriously. You can be a server or you can be a hospitality professional.
Right.
They're very different.
Right.
And I come across too many servers. I do not like having the experience with a server. When I'm there's salespeople and then there's sales professionals.
Right.
I'm a sales professional. I used to be a salesperson. It took me some time to become a sales professional because I believed that through building up a skill set every single second of the day, every interaction with customers, every interaction with coworkers was building towards an aggregate of like, this is now my skill set that I've
Right.
become an expert in this field. So if you're not as a server or as a line cook, whatever you're doing, where you start and where you end up, every minute matters. Every interaction matters. And not only should it matter to you because you're going to become a professional at something, it should matter to you because you want that person that you're working with to remember the experience they had. Whether you own the restaurant or not, it's your responsibility.
Absolutely. And I think there's a lack of responsibility. I mean, this makes me think of something that we did talk a little bit about before, which is opinions versus expertise. And I got to tell you, in my life right now, and this happens all the time, but really right now, I get a ton. I got a shitload of opinions on everything. Everyone has opinion on every last little thing.
Yeah.
And I got to be perfectly honest with you guys. And I know some of you people that have been giving me your opinion on stuff might listen to this at some point, but I don't give a shit about your opinion on this particular matter, because really what I value is expertise on this. Okay. And if you have not taken the time to educate yourself on what it is that you're trying to give me your opinion on, then why don't you just save it for yourself or do something else with your time? Because I'm sure it's valuable. But the question is, when you were just talking about, becoming, putting in all that time, right?
Yeah.
To take yourself seriously.
Yeah.
And become an expert so that you can give expertise on something versus just your opinion. I feel like we are living in a world that is just a perfect breeding ground for just giving opinions on everything in so many ways.
Are they original opinions?
Who even knows what they are?
Yeah.
But we're not spending enough time, as you're saying, gathering the experiences that we need, the education we need, the knowledge we need to give expertise on something, which is what I value and is what I think that can truly make or break a brick and mortar or someone that is looking to, I think a lot of young people out there want to have a successful career in something. I mean, I know they want it, but I don't know if they get what it takes to, to get there.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it takes a lot so to become an expert in something requires a commitment, right? So you have to commit to that thing and to yourself and to the people that you're serving. So there's like 3 levels of commitment that I see. It's to the thing that you want to be an expert in, to yourself that you're going to commit to learn these things and hone in on, the areas where you feel most confident that most kind of touch you, and then the person that you're working with, right?
Totally.
So to be an expert doesn't happen overnight. I don't even think it happens. I think it takes years and years and years to be an expert. But while you're becoming an expert, you can certainly be confident in the things that you're learning. And I think that's an important thing in selling, because there's a phrase, fake it till you make it, right? And so sometimes you can fake it, sometimes you can't, right? So you can sound like you've done it before, but when push comes to shove, it's going to be pretty transparent that you haven't done it.
Right.
And I think usually like a tactic that works this is just like a tip, right? Like for salespeople that are listening, or
please, no,
people
we want
that,
the tips.
like I think there's a method, and I think it's from a guy named Tom Hopkins. I saw him a long time ago at the United Center. It was one of these like sales, like they bring in like 15 like Zig Ziglar and some of these guys, Brian Tracy. But I believe it was a Tom Hopkins, and it's like this like day-long sales extravaganza. You hear from like the greatest minds in the world, and this guy Tom Hopkins is pretty brilliant. He has this method called feel, felt, found.
Ooh.
I really like it. And the reason I really like it is because I still use it to this day, but it helped me overcome my insecurity of not being an expert when I first started in sales. So the feel, felt, found method sounds something like, Chris, and this would be like after you objected. Okay, so I said, Chris, like, I want to sell you this this product, whatever. And you say, yeah, I'm not really interested. I don't think it's going to solve my problem. The response to that, to sound like an expert, even if you're not, is, Chris, I understand how you feel. Other customers have felt that way too. But once they've implemented XYZ, they have found it results in these three things.
Mm.
So you feel, I understand how you feel, right? So I'm listening, not just, Chris, you're wrong, or buy my product. It's like, Chris, I hear you. I understand how you feel. And I have other customers, or my company has other customers that have felt that way too, right? So if it's day one on my job, I can still say this.
Right.
Our other customers, not necessarily mine, but our other customers have felt this way. So I understand. I get it. Other people felt that way.
I'm ready to buy. I don't even know what you're selling me right now.
But
I'm
what
ready
they
to buy
found-
whatever the hell you have.
It works. It works, and it's not trickery, right?
Right,
It's
right,
like I don't
right.
believe in. I think there are a lot of very smart people that I've come across that I cannot even begin to try to like pretend with them.
Right.
But I can absolutely know what my product is. I can know what it does for my customers on day one, like literally day one of any job.
Right.
It applies to every industry, I think, and it applies to so many different professions that it's just about listening to what that person said,
Right.
letting them know other people have been in your position before. You're not the first.
And that's the felt part.
Yeah, that's the felt part. And
I feel you. Other people have felt your same way.
Yeah, and what I found, or what they've found, was that they increase productivity by 30% by using this platform, whatever the case may be. So becoming an expert is just read what other experts do, right? Like I didn't know that. I didn't create that. I can't copyright that. If I did, I'd be super rich like Tom Hopkins. But I've used it. It's worked for me. And I felt confident that I was telling the truth.
Which is basically what you're basically telling us is that, damn it, be a professional on your way towards becoming an expert.
Yes. Take yourself seriously. Day one. And every single day. Yes, have fun. Yes, be yourself. But try to build these muscles that you don't have. Because if you don't work on them, you will never be an expert. You'll never be that expert that you want to be, that you're aspiring to be. I think that's a really important takeaway.
Yeah, it's a huge takeaway, and that professionalism really does breed confidence. Like you're saying, if you just present yourself, like you're saying, even on day one, as a professional, the confidence when you sit down, even if you're in front of somebody where, hey, you're not pulling anything over on this person, but damn it, just be a professional.
Yeah.
You can step up with a lot of confidence. Do you remember when I came to see you in London?
Yes, I do.
And
I was thrilled to have you in London.
I know. No, that was amazing. That was an amazing trip.
And that was a long couple of years for me.
Yeah, it was crazy. And do you remember when we blagged our way into that nightclub?
Yes, I do. Chris said blagged, which is a British way, and not all British, but like I learned it from my friends that lived in Wembley, which is like North London. And a blagger is like a con man, but not like super negative, but not super positive either. It's like someone who can talk the talk and talk shit.
So I remember, like you guys are taking me out.
We went to Leicester Square, which is a pretty popular. It's right near Piccadilly. There's this nightclub that I'm like, dude, we're never gonna get into. Let's not even bother. The's always a line out the door. Whether they're holding a line. I remember
you telling me that. We'll never get into it.
Yeah, and you're like, Chris takes over. Blags his way in.
Well, because going along with what you were saying, I had been in the industry for such a long time, and the amount of time that I spent working in the nightclub industry certainly gave me a certain level of confidence. And so when I stand there and I understand holding the line, I understand what that doorman gets paid, what he's looking for, the role that woman standing behind him is playing, why so-and-so's looking around. I'm breaking down everything because I understand it all because I've been there already.
Yeah.
And so when I sat there and I'm like, okay, no, we're going there anyway. And then there sure was the line out the door and everything.
I mean, Chris was, if I recall the line, Steve from Vegas sent me.
I said,
Steven from Vegas. Tell the story.
I told him, I said, look, I came up really quickly. I fabricated a story.
Yes.
Okay. I told him that Steven.
And for those of you that haven't seen Chris in person, like you'll be watching this, but like he looks the look. He's a good dresser. He's an attractive man. He's very confident.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of those attributes that he's worked on for a long time.
Yeah.
So like the presence matters at first, right?
It certainly does. And you cannot walk up to them with your head down,
bashful, like body language, right?
Body language. It's all important, and I was making a sale. And I had to walk up confidently. And I was, because I'm a professional at that, because I've been in the world so long.
Yeah.
So I told him, Steven from Vegas told me to come here and see William. I know he's a DJ. He has it on the list. my name is Chris Falcon.
Yeah.
And so he's looking
I
around.
felt like I was holding onto your leg, like a little
right. And he's
scared
looking
kid.
around. The doorman's looking around like, oh, okay. And he's talking to someone. And he comes back. He's like, yeah, no, we have. I'm like, look, Steven told me I came here from Las Vegas to see William. You guys need to figure out what's going on. I put it on them.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they're looking, and then
I'm like,
and then
pacing.
then one girl, and this was just, again, lost. Like, oh, wait, I think William's a DJ on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Or
He's not here right now.
He's not here right now, but
sorry, we'll let you in.
we'll let you in. And sure enough, we cut the line.
We're in
we,
VIP.
We blag our way. We're in VIP, the busiest
That
club
was
in the area.
a really cool experience, by the way. Like I forgot that. I'm glad you brought that up because it totally applies to what we were just describing. Like you have to fake it till you make it a little bit. But your body language was the thing. Like we should have been talking about body language a little bit with servers and those kind of things. It's like, are you, the body language of a salesperson? Are you leaning back? Are you leaning in? Like that, just right there. Are you listening or are you passively listening? So like leaning back is really not good for a face-to-face sales setting.
Right.
You should be leaning in. You should be eye to eye, and your body should be engaged.
Let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, because you're still so immersed. I mean, you're doing consulting for companies. Like you're doing a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
How much face-to-face sales is even happening anymore?
That's a good question. And, in the industries that I have experience, there is quite a bit of face-to-face selling because the ticket, the price tag requires it.
Right.
But so I think it's important, like as technology has caught up with, sales, and what I mean by that is like the ability to automate a lot of things and the ability to have a web conference where before I met with you, I was talking to somebody in Scotland and we were face to face. So, and obviously I wasn't in Scotland before this, I'm in Glenview. But I was face to face through web chat, right? And so I think so to answer your question, the travel still exists. Face to face settings still exist. I think it's mostly dictated by the actual dollar amount being spent and the relationship that the two companies or those two individuals have. Those usually drive that. That determines usually how that meeting sets up. But I know that there are a lot of companies that are doing everything they can to reduce spend, as always. Like that's part of a company is just to be super efficient, not spend money where it doesn't need to go. And so they invest in technology that creates that experience. But it is not the same. It is absolutely not the same. So I try to engage with my customers in a face-to-face setting as often as I can, but because I'm consulting, I don't do it as much as I used to. I used to travel quite a bit. Not as much as some of my friends, but I would definitely get on a plane several times, like every other week, and be gone for a few days. When my wife was pregnant, I stopped all that because I really wanted to be present. But there is no substitute for that face-to-face, but it will start to go away, I think. I think it's as technology continues to evolve, and the younger generation that is used to FaceTime and not being actually in person, I think you'll start to see that die off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that it makes me sad because I do, but I love that human connectivity and that face-to-face action. But at the same time, I know that things have to change, and I want to be able to preserve what we loved about the past, but also welcome the future. But going along with that, I think I told you before, again, going back to this E word experience, I had a couple amazing conversations with a great guy, Stephen White of 7 Studios. And really, to say that he helps people with marketing is such an understatement. It's more like marketing on steroids, and really digging deep into what is going to get somebody to want to enter your realm, whether that's entering your flower shop or your restaurant, or even just getting to your website. And that first thing that he talks about when he talked about the 5 E's of experience, which I thought was amazing, that first E was that excite moment. What is going to excite this person? And I think that, this day and age when things are, again, you're talking about the world getting so saturated, there's so much shit out there, it's crazy. And you're trying to make this sale, that this content creation is something that is so valuable now.
Yes.
Okay, it's something that is starting to sell your flowers before anyone ever steps foot in your shop and takes a whiff of any petunias.
Yeah.
Okay, like what can we do, and how valuable is this excite component and opportunity here? And like, how much do we need to really pay attention to this? As a brick and mortar, I got my small business. Like, I got to excite this consumer.
I think that's you definitely want to get some marketing experience, like experts in here to talk about that, because that's a whole nother discussion on how to like activate someone, right?
Right.
You're talking about exciting them, activate them is the way that I think about it. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's very important that the consumer feels something personal to be excited about. Like, let me like kind of take it back a step here, and I think it's just kind of unpack it a bit. Like, you have done a lot of professional speaking engagements,
Yeah.
and they're mostly with students, right? Like kids that are, maybe need a bit more attention than they get, or some that are super high performing that deserve your time too, right? So like you've kind of done the whole swath of schools and elementary schools and middle schools. Yeah, you've been all over the place. Do you think that, and this is like probably a question that is pretty self-explanatory, but how do you think you personally would feel if you were broadcast into those auditoriums?
Wow. So me actually, how do I feel being broadcast into that room?
Yeah.
Would I be able to connect with these people the same way?
Yeah, so the excite part, right? Because in person, super exciting, right? So now we've got a screen separating you, which is the phone. Or
Yeah.
and in those auditoriums, you actually are projected, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how do I, Chris Falcon, excite that audience when I have a screen in front of me?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, for me, a large part of what gets me excited to then go excite is the energy
Mm-hmm.
of the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking in front of 1,000 middle schoolers is an intense experience. Okay.
I can imagine.
And you have to match their energy in order to keep things controlled. Otherwise, it will spiral completely into oblivion. So for me personally, but I'm thinking about that would be interesting. I mean, right now,
Like,
me
how
and
would
you
you
are,
excite them?
yeah, me and you are connecting right here, but we've got this microphone and we're communicating with the world, if you will. And we
Sure.
got screens and how would I excite them? I mean, I would have to try to find a way to fabricate that energy that I would normally get
That's a marketer's job, right?
from the people.
How does a marketer do that?
Yeah, I'd have
How
to
does a
fabricate it.
marketer excite the consumer to take action
Yeah.
when there is no actual human interaction? Like, how does Joe, what you just asked me, which I have no answer to, and I'm not going to pretend that I do, how does Joe, the florist, excite and activate his consumer through a screen?
Do we have to just
That's
know?
why I think it's so important that when that consumer shows up at Joe's,
Yeah.
new business or repeat customer, that is the moment where you need to engage and excite, like, and activate to come back. Because, it's just, there's just, the screen time of an advertisement on Facebook or Instagram is so easy to ignore and scroll through to find something that does excite you.
Totally.
Right? So like I'll see a video that's I'm super into music, right? So I'll like watch bands play or guitar players or blues musicians from the past, and then a lesson will come up.
Yeah.
That lesson for me connects with me because that's what I want to learn something.
Learning.
So that's what excites me. But it doesn't necessarily activate me. What activates me is when I can get some alone time, sit down with my guitar. So like that's when I enter that brick and mortar. That's when the excitement really happens for me.
Oh gosh, I mean, it's crazy to talk about it because, I mean, when I flip through and I'm scrolling,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like nothing excites me anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like I just go, and I don't even know now, like even why I even go sometimes, and I'm not even doing it to even like check out my own stuff or anything like that. I'll get on there and I'll just start doing this, and nothing gets me to stop. I mean, not the pretty girl, not the fancy car, not the watch, not the motivational speech by somebody. I mean, nothing gets me to pause anymore. And I'm wondering, like, is this something that we cannot underestimate, which is that all this shit out there and the saturation has made it that much harder. You really, really have to step up, and or that experience of just when people come in, that is your true opportunity, like you're saying.
That is. When that was, let's say you bought something online, okay? Let's say you bought something and you decided to buy it, right? So let's exclude Amazon, because when I buy stuff from Amazon, it's for convenience, right?
Right.
Like it is so convenient. It is so easy. I'm not excited, but it's super easy, right? So let's think about something that I've purchased that I was excited about.
Okay.
Like let's say it's a new pair of shoes, right? Like a cool pair of Nike that I really like, that I think will look cool and that I'll enjoy and will be comfortable. Like that, the feeling of putting them on is what makes me buy them. Not the picture. You know, the picture is definitely needed, right? So I can see what it looks like. But the guy wearing them doesn't look like me.
Right.
He's 10 years younger. He's 100 pounds lighter. He's
Right.
a million times better looking. He's got 10,000 likes. That's not me. But the minute I put the shoe on in my house, which is that brick and mortar moment for me, is when I'm activated. So like I've already bought it, but will I buy them again? Is what I like to think about when I'm in sales. It's, will my customer come back to me? Whether I'm at company A or company B, will they call me because they know that I'm going to answer the phone, I'm going to be honest with them, I'm going to be an expert, I'm going to take myself seriously, I'm going to take their problem seriously. So I can post on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn constantly, which I try to do as much as I can, mostly on LinkedIn. That's the context for me, business. I don't expect people to send me a message, right? I don't really expect them to buy anything. I expect them to be cued and remember me, but the experience that they have with me is what I am selling. And that's the same thing with the shoe. When the shoe comes, I take it out of the box, it smells brand new, pull the little stuffing paper out of it, put it on my feet, and that's the moment of excitement and engagement for me. That's when I feel really good about my purchase, or not good if they don't fit right? But so if my meal comes out from a restaurant that I'm excited about or whatever, and it doesn't taste good, doesn't taste as good as it looked, it's not exactly what I was hoping for, maybe a little bit cold, but the server was awesome and the server was cool, I'm probably going to give that restaurant another try, because I know they're busy. I know food preparation is very difficult. I know that there are a lot of guidelines that need to be followed, right, for food safety and everything, and I respect all that. So I'm not going to just say, the server brought me a cold sandwich, bye, next restaurant.
Right.
I'm going to say the server is at the mercy of the restaurant.
Right.
And if that server brings it to me with a smile and I'm not that happy with it, I'm going to still come back. But if that server's just like, here's your food, and then checks on me one time,
right.
then I'm like, this sandwich is cold, the service sucked, and I'm never coming back.
Right.
So like that to me is, again, Joe in the brick and mortar needs to recognize that social media is a thing that will keep you in top of mind, and it can serve as a reminder, and it can serve as a some good advertising, some good referral business. But if you think that that's going to close the deal for you, like the repeat customer, you're so wrong.
I have a perfect story for that. I mean, just today, I had a woman come in for a consultation.
Okay,
for training, and
where?
She came into the gym.
Which gym?
I know, right? Yeah. Well,
can you plug?
She came into my gym, Reactive Performance Enhancement Center here in Glenview.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Yes, I know you have. And so she came in, and first and foremost, what got her to at least, say, I'm going to go and check this out, or I'm going to make that call. Mm-hmm. She was going, she was Googling and, all that stuff. She found us. She saw the reviews. Okay, great reviews.
Yep.
So this was an opportunity for technology, and making sure that whatever extensions of my business that I have out there represent my company and what I do properly. And so she felt confident enough to go ahead and say, oh, hey, I want to give this guy a call. She makes the call, we make the appointment. Great, she comes in. Long story short, she's got some serious challenges. Okay, she's been, she got diagnosed with cancer a couple of years ago. Like it's heavy, heavy stuff. I sit here and I'm nothing but honest. I'm empathetic. I'm real. I'm being a professional because I take what I do seriously. When people walk in the room, sure, I do my normal thing of, I greet everybody, but I'm totally engaged. with her because I'm a professional and I take what I do seriously. And after she got done signing the check, she told me, I never make decisions this fast. She's she's a smart, educated person. I never make decisions this fast. But I feel like you understand where I'm coming from, and I feel like you see where I want to go. That is huge.
That's got to feel good.
That's what happened in my brick and mortar
too.
today, for sure. That's what happened in my brick and mortar today. And I think that those are opportunities that you just really don't have in the cyberspace.
You do not.
And so I think for all you guys out there with those with your brick and mortar and your business, do not underestimate even the smallest interaction you have with somebody that comes into your space. It's a huge opportunity for you to paint a picture that's much larger, much more detailed than anything that cyberspace is going to do. And we're not saying that, hey, look, content creation is important. I want everybody here, media pods, recording. However,
it's table stakes. It's not
right.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
The creating of content will be as commonplace as direct mail.
Right.
Down the road, right? Direct mail where you go to your mailbox, there's the ad book for cleaners and restaurants and whatever, right? Direct mail. That's been very popular and very successful for businesses for years. But that is constant, right? Constant drip. If that person goes into the cleaners and they get their stuff back and it's not exactly, there's a shirt missing or the stain isn't completely out, you can keep messaging all you want. You can keep mailing all you want. If that experience wasn't on point, like you were describing today with your customer that's really lucky to have found you, it doesn't matter how many times you post.
Right.
It doesn't matter how many success stories you post or how many stars you have on Yelp, right? Like,
it's so true.
Yelp is also table stakes, right? So if you have poor reviews, you have the ability to talk to your customers about those things, and you don't have to put them on the spot, right? You don't have to say, what was up with that review? You can have review sheets in the hands of your trainers.
Right.
Fill this out.
Right.
Please help us. We want to do better. I think those are the experiences, people notice that stuff. I might be a little bit hypercritical when I go out in the world because I'm really sensitive about the service I provide for my customers.
We need
super
you to be that
sensitive,
way, though, because you're good at what you do. So I don't want you to lower your standards.
I will never lower my standards.
Keep them high.
I will keep them high. I think it's just super, super important that no matter what your role is with a restaurant, a company, in a family, that you understand that every interaction really does have an impact. And it can have a positive impact and it can have a negative impact. Or it can have a neutral impact, right? Like just same old status quo, I know what to expect.
Right.
That's okay too. The know what to expect, fine. Just like Cheers. I go in, I know what beer I'm getting, I know what seat I'm sitting in.
And that's it.
Nothing surprising is going to happen. Sometimes that's cool too.
We could obviously, and we might even do more of this even once we're not recording. But we could do this all day. So there's going to have to be a third visit for you.
That would be fun.
But what's your closing statement? Right now, you've got brick and mortar, owners listening. You've got, people working for large sales corporations. Maybe they just got that sales job.
Yep.
You've got servers listening. What's the last thing you want to say to these people on the topic of sales, on the topic of feel and felt and found? What is the thing you want to leave these people with?
You're putting me on the spot.
You're damn right I'm going to put you on the spot.
That's hard.
But you're an expert.
I'm becoming an expert. That's hard. I think, the most, if I'm going to really just kind of whittle it down and distill it to one thing, it is just realize that you have the opportunity to be whoever you want to be. You can emulate whoever it is that you look up to, but you do need to find that thing that you love. You have to find that thing that you love. And it's scary and it's hard and sometimes you will not make any money. I started a consulting business this year after working in corporate America since 2002. None of my friends would do it. They're all in the same place. They're all, kind of robotic. I don't want this to be a long tirade, but they're kind of robotic. They're not super happy. They're comfortable, but they're not content.
No.
And they shy away from challenge. And so what I would say is open up yourself to those challenges often because you're going to be the one that does it. You're probably not going to have anyone that follows you, or does it ahead of you. But you're going to learn a lot more than others. So if your restaurant group and your servers all drag ass and don't show up and don't treat customers right, be the guy that does it right. Be the gal that does it right. Be the one that cares, that understands that the value that you create for that family at that moment matters for you, not just for the restaurateur who drives the Lexus home, right? It matters for you. It matters for that person. So I don't know if there's one way to really encapsulate that. A little long-winded, but yeah, man, I think it's about just be serious, take yourself seriously, definitely have fun, but try to create value for people that you interact with. It's you only go around this life one time, and every opportunity that you take for granted is an opportunity lost. And I think that's a lot of people make that mistake, and I don't want to be one of those people.
Dude, you are so good. You're so good. You're so good at what you do, man. We got to take live callers one day.
Let's get some good guests in here too.
Right.
Let's get some
how can people get more of you? Because I know there might be people out there that might listen to this that might want your services, that might want your help with the consulting and stuff like that. How can people get their hands on you?
Go to LinkedIn. Look at my profile. My first name is James. Last name is Levin, Levin. And you can find me. I'm representing a few companies right now, but I'm pretty much the only James Levin in Chicago in enterprise software. You may find another James Levin. He's a maestro at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. That is not me. But yeah, man, I really appreciate it. I don't have a website to plug right now.
At least the other James Levin isn't like, I don't know, like on the sex offenders list or something.
Not that I know.
Right, he's a maestro, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. But he's got an E at the end of his name. But for some reason, I get that a lot. But no, yeah, go to LinkedIn, connect with me. I will accept you, no matter what. I will accept you in. I love to talk to people, and I love the opportunity to help any way that I can. Dude, so appreciate it, man. Thanks, Chris.
The man.
So much fun.
You know what? Just like you said, I mean, the value proposition is huge. And like I've said before, you have to understand that your future has value. That's something that I struggled with a lot when I was a young man, but it's not something I struggle with now. Your future has value. And in that, you have to understand that you have to develop yourself as a professional. This whole world of expert, maybe in print somewhere you might see, that it says fitness expert or something next to my name, but I don't really attach myself to that word expert. But I can give you my expertise on something because I have the experience to back up what it is that I'm doing. Get those experiences, people, especially the young people out there right now. And I hate to pick on you guys, but sometimes we think that there are a lot of shortcuts because the world has so many, how can we say it? There are so many decoys out there that make you think that you're going one direction when you're really not. Don't take the shortcuts all the time. Get the right experiences that you need. Understand that the work that you're really going to put into something isn't always just the work that's going to happen while you're on the clock. You're going to have to do things before, during, and after your job or whatever it is that you're doing. So take pride in that. Get out there and understand that some of the most important things to feel are your own emotions. Develop your own passions. Some of the things that need to be felt. Research and understand what has been done. Become a student of the game and make sure that you take the time to find what that passion is in yourself, the direction that you want to take with your life, because it's important. And going along with the rebel mindset, we want to maximize our potential in the world, but you can do this with authenticity. It's important that you do it with authenticity. So get out there and make it happen. I want to thank everybody here at MediaPods. Again, go to MediaPods.com. We got Andy in the back, making sure things are legit. A lot of people come together to make this whole thing possible. So I want to give a big thanks to everybody. Next in the pod, who do I have? I think I've got, I think I've got one of the founders of Goose Island Brewery, actually.
You got a good
it's going to be pretty sick, man. So we got some amazing people here. Go to therebelmindset.com to see who we have going into the pod in the next few weeks. And until then, Rebel on.
Thanks a lot, everybody.